Yo people, what's good? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I last done this, but I thought I'd put out a video, one with my face in it this time as well. So obviously now you guys get to attribute the face to the brand, and I guess what we're trying to do here as well. Um, a different type of video here for you today. I thought I'd actually talk about something I experienced recently. I experienced a really big payout rejection recently. Off the back of that as well, I was max allocated with this particular firm. I also had my accounts removed. So this is 400k under management, um, a really decent payout, over five figures. And this isn't going to be one of those videos where we talk about how bad the CFD prop space is, and how you need to transition over into futures. This isn't going to be a video where I'm talking about that particular prop firm and how bad it is. No, this is more so a video about how do you overcome moments that are bigger than you, moments where you're facing, obviously adversity is relative, but you're facing some sort of adversity. How do you come back from that? And yeah, I just wanted to get some points across. Obviously give advice to myself and I guess anybody else that's probably either experienced this. This is very akin. This moment is very akin to um, the idea of blowing up an account. For example, you've deposited £100, £200 into a broker, £1,000 into a broker, and you've blown it. The feelings, the psychological response is the exact same. Maybe your heart might sink a little bit. The hairs on the end of your arms might rise a little bit. Your palms might be a little bit sweaty. You might just result in being unhappy. Like a lot of the responses to these situations, whether it's an account blown or an account prop blown or a rejected payout request, it's all the same, right? And what isn't spoken about enough is the journey that's taken in order to recoup that mental capital that's been lost in that particular moment. And I guess this video I'm putting out now is to help us, reduce that gap just a little bit, just so that um, you're coming back better, more equipped, I guess, and your mental capital being stronger than ever. You're coming back to the charts and you're doing what you do. I think that's really important. Underrated, underestimated. I think element of trading. So yeah, how do I feel about this particular moment? So I think the first step towards, I guess, recouping your mental capital and getting it back to a point where it was prior to whatever adversity that you've experienced. Um, the first point is being able to take yourself out of that particular moment so that you can review that moment as objectively as possible. I think that's the most important thing because sometimes we have this tendency of um, almost like coupling ourselves up with that particular moment, and so there's a level of like personal bitterness from that. The broker is out to get me, or my stops have been targeted, or this prop firm just doesn't want to pay me, irrespective of what whoever, the third party, whatever their intentions are, whether it's good or bad. I feel like the only way to kind of benefit yourself from moving forward is to just come at these things as objectively as possible and understand that this is but a sequence of events that will happen within your trading journey. You will win some, you will lose some, you'll have some very happy moments, you'll have some low moments, but directly associating how you feel with those moments can have you really fluctuating in terms of your ability to regulate like your emotional response and stuff like that. And so being able to just take yourself out of that moment in order to reflect, in order to like I said, like view those experiences as objectively as possible, I think really contributes a lot to your growth and whatever it is that you're gonna go through in the future as well, because it's not all glitz and glamour in this space. It's not. Um, and so yeah, I'll actually put up the invoice that was rejected. So like the invoice was still generated. So I'll put up the invoice. Obviously, I'll cross out like any like sensitive information and stuff like that, just so that you can see. Um, but yeah, so being able to view um, a moment as objectively as possible. The second one is re-identifying your identity. I think sometimes in life we make the mistake of coupling ourselves up with I guess a desire or a passion or a I don't know, a goal. We directly associate ourselves with that particular thing, and whilst it's not bad, what happens when, for example, it doesn't go in your favor? For example, it's almost like you're that 13, 14 year old again that is trying to kick ball, and you have this goal of trying to become a footballer, and it's everything to you. And you go to one trial, you don't make it. You go to this development team, you don't make it. You try out for this semi-pro team, you don't make the cut. You try for this team, you make the cut, but after a certain amount of time, I don't know, it doesn't get converted into a pro contract, or you don't make it, you get released early, those sort of things. When you associate yourself with um, your desire and your passion, and it almost becomes everything to you, those feelings of almost rejection, like when that space almost rejects you, um, I think again, like you become incapable of regulating and being able to view yourself in that moment in time as the objective individual that you should be when being in a space like trading, for example. It becomes all the more harder. And I think I've experienced enough, I guess, adversity in this space. Like I've blown a lot of accounts, I've blown a lot of personal accounts, I've done it all. And so with the rejection of this payout, right, I could have easily rubbed myself out. I could have gone on a mental tilt. This could have impacted my day to day. This could have impacted my relationship with the people around me. Um, these situations do happen. And I think that's why it's so important to kind of take these little things into account, because this is how you grow your psychology. We talk a lot about psychology in this space, um, but what a lot of people don't know, your psychology simply boils down to how you decide to respond to certain things. And how you decide to respond to one thing is how you will do the rest, really and truly. Is how you will do the rest. How you decide to respond to one lost trade is how you'll respond to that same trade that you lose a day later or 2 days later. So if you decide to respond by opening another three more positions, then that's how you respond every single time that you lose. If you decide to respond, um, to a blown account, to if you decide to respond to a blown account by going and I don't know, purchasing another one directly after you've blown the account without reviewing the trades that got you to that point in the first place, more than likely you're probably going to blow that account again. These are lessons that I feel like I've had to learn. I'm still learning, really and truly. But one thing that's different in comparison to, I guess, where I was before is that level of self awareness. And that's so key. I guess that's also like that. There's also like 2 points in that point in that moment. So like being able to develop a certain level of self awareness, uh, being able to develop a certain level of self awareness for you to understand the moment that you're in, and then the idea of disassociating your identity with the thing that you're trying to pursue. Right, your identity and who you are as an individual should be grounded in things. much greater than you, your religion, your family, not the idea of like superficial things like whether or not you get a payout or not. And it's hard, easier said than done. Believe me, I've been there. But yeah, I think just for the sake of yourself, um, I think it's definitely the better way to go about it. So yeah, so yeah. Overall, how did I feel about the situation that I experienced in the moment, real time, when I received that email? I didn't feel good, truth be told. I didn't feel good also because I just came off the back of having an interview with them regarding my payout as well. It wasn't the type of interviews where like it's posted on YouTube and stuff like that. It was an interview regarding my strategy and my risk, and they just wanted to clarify that it was me. I'm the one that was placing the trades and stuff like that. So I had that interview, and then they emailed me saying that I'm not getting my payout for XYZ. Um, so yeah, I felt bitter in the moment. I felt hurt, no doubt. Um, it was a decent 5 figures, um, and yeah, like I said, I think it's easy. It's very easy to find yourself in a space where the mental aspect of experience something like that causes a series of events um, that you wouldn't necessarily want to go through had you been in, I guess, the right frame of mind. It's so important to acknowledge these certain things. I've seen it in my own behaviors. I've seen it in the behaviors of other people, other traders, etc. Self sabotage, especially when you don't get the things that you want, is very, very, very real. So I guess the next thing that I kind of want to talk about is how do we come back from this moment? Like, where do we go? Like, do we still trust the prop firm space? Do we, decide to go the personal funding route, for example? I'm still very bullish on the prop firm space, um, the CFD prop firm space, also futures prop firm space as well. So I might consider like some other different accounts. Um, Definitely make sure to read up on like the FAQs and stuff like that as well, because I think the mistake that I made in this situation, again, not pointing fingers to the prop firm, the mistake I made in this situation was believing that um, the restriction that they had, so they had the restriction they had on being fully allocated was more asset based, so you couldn't trade the same assets across those accounts nor the correlating assets. Now I thought this restriction only amounted to gold, and in my head, probably because it's a relatively volatile pair, and so you don't want to have that exposure over two accounts being max funded. I understood that. I didn't understand that it also amounted to other assets as well, um, which is weird because if you're fully funded with that firm and you only trade one asset, for example, how are you going to operate with that firm? So it was weird. It was weird. But again, like this isn't a moment to like shit on the prop firm or anything like that. Um, this is more of a moment to acknowledge that we're gonna encounter these moments more often than not. As unfortunate as it is, but it's still a reminder to myself that like we have to be very bullish on this space, because what you can do from a prop firm in comparison to your own individual funds, I think is just night and day. Some people's situations are different, so they can come and they can put 50K on a personal account, and that will be enough for each position taken to that, for there to be like almost like a level of contentness, because that's something that I've always had issues with, the idea of being content when you take a position. I could put a personal account of 5K, but I don't think I'd be content risking 1% per position, and so I'd find myself in a space where and put in more. And you don't want to be in that situation because you can manage that risk the first day, the second day. What happens the third day when maybe you're a little out of whack, your routine wasn't necessarily done in the morning, you haven't fully committed to accepting that risk that you've taken, and you don't like the loss that you've taken. That account is practically blown after that trade, practically. So so yeah. Um, yeah, I think this was a good moment for me, a great moment for me to experience. Um, I am very for situations that put your mental capital to the test. I think is really important. Is it's like the gym. It's like the idea of getting your reps in. You got to pull your cells apart um, for it to heal and heal stronger, and for it to put you in a position where you're able to lift and just accept more. And the same goes for your mental capital as well. You have to experience these situations. You have to understand that these situations are going to happen in the events of being, in the sequence of events of just being in this space. Um, and even if it doesn't feel like that in the moment, this will only ever be a situation that causes you to be better than you was before. So it will cause you to want to journal more. Like this moment has resulted in me wanting to journal more. I try to journal as much as possible, and I do find it relatively tedious, to be fair. But this has caused me to want to provide like an even greater amount of detail to the trades taken and just how I feel in that moment. Because I want to be better, and I want to be. I don't want to be the best, but I want to be the best version of myself. And so yeah, appreciate you guys just listening to me rant and taking in the video. Um, like I said, more videos on the way. I'm gonna start doing like some back testing sessions as well, just reevaluating my strategy. Because obviously I'm always trying to refine. I think obviously the ultimate goal should be capital preservation. So if you can build more criterias for not being in the market, you're definitely winning. And then yeah, I want to do like more process based videos as well. So like, how do I stick to my process? So again, like with the journaling aspect, I might put some journaling videos out there. Like, how do I journal? How do I hold myself accountable? And then yeah, I guess like obviously like some trade ideas, maybe like some weekly reviews, stuff like that. So like we're definitely gonna chop it up soon for sure. And yeah, if you liked what I said, if you have any advice for me, feel free to comment in the description below. Feel free to like, feel free to share, feel free to subscribe. Let's communicate. Obviously, like this industry is hard, um, but it is the easiest way, I think personally, to build wealth in today's time, in today's space. There's definitely nothing else like it. So yeah, yeah. Appreciate you guys listening to me, and take care.